Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Marcus, and I am currently teaching English in South Korea as an English teacher in a city called Cheongju, South Korea. And I thought I'd take it upon myself to document a little bit about what's been going on here from my perspective, I guess. And I think it's kind of weird because as I'm recording this, I only have about 30 days before I'm out of here, before I'm in a totally new country. And I thought that I just summarize everything that I've been going through, or at least most of the stuff that I can remember that I've gone through while living here in Korea. And I guess the reason why I'm doing it now is because mostly didn't really have the means to do it or the kind of like the time because I was always so busy going out. I mean, I always felt like, oh shoot, I just need to go out and do something. But then over the few years, things slowed down a whole lot, and even though my work has picked up and I've gotten more busy there, uh, I just thought I'd take it upon myself to do it since I only have 30 days, and since I'm still here. Um, I thought I'd do something relevant, like close out my time here with a little bit of memory lane type stuff. First off, a lot of the things that's going on in Korea, aside from the trends and the fads and things like that, they pretty much remain the same from the last 3 years. No major changes or anything except for like corporate changes and stuff like that. So you'll notice that you'll notice me fast forward through stuff and time and things like that. Uh, and excuse me if I'm like kind of just thinking and stuff like that because it's like the first time I've done something like that. I mean, I guess in this manner. And I guess what I'll also be doing is I'll be using my second computer to kind of look through things and bring some things that I've seen to the little big little screen here. Anyways, so you'll see me like look over there somewhere, right? But anyways, I'll show you my get up and all that stuff, like what I have going on here. It's part of the mess in the background, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and move on with the show. So, all right. So, anyways, when I first came into Korea, I actually came in on May 18th, 2013. I was before coming out here. I guess I'll rewind a bit. And when I was young, when I was in high school, I guess you can say, since I'm like old now. When I was in high school, I first heard someone ask, like, or mention Korea like a young person. Usually, like, the only people who I've ever heard talk about Korea was like history teachers, and it was typically about the war. And I remember wearing this really crazy hairstyle, and this girl asked me, like, are you Korean or something? Are you half Korean? I was like, I don't even know what she's talking about. I don't even know what Korea is. I thought since she was from like Nicaragua or something like that, I thought that was a place in Latin America or something. I was really ignorant. And I mean, like, when I was like 14 or 15, I mean, people barely had the internet in their house at that time. This is like we're talking about like 1998 and 99 and things like that. So, um, the first time I heard Korea from any young person's mouth was at that moment. And I didn't really know much about it again until a few years later when I started getting interested in learning Japanese while I was at the end of my junior high school years. And it wasn't until another year later when I started taking the classes and when I actually started picking it up really well. So some music that I've like illegally downloaded. Um, sorry about that, but the music's long gone, past tense. Anyways, music that I had downloaded and was listening to at the time was I thought was Japanese, was actually Korean from when I found out. And me and my friend, like my Vietnamese friend, we took it upon ourselves to like listen to more. It just sounded really catchy, so we just kept going. And at the time, at this time, people kind of criticized me for like listening to any kind of Asian music at the time. I just thought it was like catchy and fun. So like, I started listening to it, with uses of headphones, just so I wouldn't get teased in school and stuff like that. And one thing that I noticed was I noticed that more people knew about if they did know about Asian music and they weren't Asian, they typically listened to like uh, J-pop, Japanese pop, right? So I was under the impression that the music I was listening to was Japanese, but when I started learning it, of course, like I said earlier, it wasn't. And then I started researching a little bit about Korea, and I guess like the first thing I started noticing was that like they're really hooked on like pop culture. Like these guys are like basically like what Backstreet Boys and stuff was back in the day, and basically like these Korean entertainers are like gods in Korea. I mean, there was even a band at that time called God. God. Anyways, fast forward a few years, and I I graduated high school, uh, I guess in National Japanese Honor Society, and I moved on to go into the Marine Corps. Never got a chance to actually go to Japan like I wanted, or anywhere in Asia except for like Iraq and Kuwait. Um, I went to school and I started learning a little bit about Korean language and Japanese and Chinese in the university. Then I actually got a chance to go to Japan, and after that, I experienced like hardcore homelessness for like a year. And then I was looking for jobs. First, I was looking for jobs in Japan, but they weren't really taking me because at the time, like I had a lot of babysitting experience because I was basically babysitting to survive. And then there was a time when I was trying to go to China. I was trying to get like just regular jobs, but just get out of like where I was living and stuff. I was kind of bored of Dallas. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and just forgot to even say, I'm 32 years old. I was born in like 1983 and stuff like. Um, and since I've grown up there, there's really nothing for me there. I mean, I consider myself like I don't know, just somebody without the kind of skill to hang around. Like, there's nothing really that I like to do there, and there's nothing that I'm good at that really is worth anything while I'm there. So I tried to go to China to see like maybe I really like Asian stuff, so like I just thought I'd give it a try. And somewhere down the line, I was like, dude, I don't have any money to get like a visa processed or anything like that. And they were like, we're doing internships and stuff, but I only did like one internship that actually was quite successful, with as a Republican. Uh, Republican backed kind of thing, I guess. I was working for a congresswoman, but other than that, I never really believed in other internships. I just feel like, when I'm working for like big companies, likely I'm just going to get thrown in a pool of like competitive people and stuff like that. And I don't really care to compete because I always feel like, I'm a fast learner and I can do things really well. But sometimes, like, some people just outshine me. And that comes with like years of being in the Marine Corps. I feel like no matter what I do, no matter how much I work, no matter how much I try, there's always somebody who does less that's going to, take, get in front of you, because it's all about who you know and stuff like that. So I figured, why not just go somewhere and stand out a bit and, be a little different and also do the same exact thing that I would have done back at home, survive. But in this sense, like I'm me, like people can see me, So I just thought I'd do that, and so I gave it a try, but couldn't really afford the Chinese thing. It was like too expensive, and didn't really want to keep going on with the Japanese kind of job rejections and stuff like that. So I thought I'd give Korea a try. Gave it only one try, and then it worked out. So I got into this deal with a. Let me turn off my air conditioner. Sorry. I got into this deal with this company called Eclipse, and what they did was they hooked me up with a job in South Korea. It's called Cheongdam, and the Korean name is called Cheongdam Ohagwon, but it's like English Academy. They just call it Cheongdam Institute or Cheongdam Learning, whatever. And at the time, I got the job uh, over a course of a year. It took a while. Like it was like every 3 months or 6 months we would have to like email like our intentions on wanting to be scouted, and then after a while I started like maybe in June or July or something like that, and then I got scouted in about August or so. I got a phone call, and then there was like an over the phone interview, and then after that, there was a another phone call. Well, let me go back. There was a phone call before that interview where they asked us questions. I guess it was like a questionnaire thing, and then they called wondering if we wanted to work in Korea and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, they'll interview me. Then they gave me some documents and told me to like, oh, we want you to figure out these answers. Basically, it was like to see how stupid you are in English and stuff. So I was like, well, I guess since it's English is kind of natural to me, it is um, you know by birth my second language, but it is the primary one that I've used all my life anyway. So it's just like uh, second or first nature, whatever you want to call it. And I filled it out, turned it in. They said good to go. It looks good and everything. So we want to see in about a month. We want to process to see if you're good enough for blah blah blah. So they like process the information, and somewhere about I think October or something like that, near the final season, I guess in the fall, they emailed me back saying congratulations, you're basically hired into the system, but they need to find a school that will take you. So we want you to do these things, right? And I did like everything they wanted me to do, but they asked me like if I wanted to go in December or something like that, and I was like, ooh, I don't quite have the money or anything. So what I did was I worked a little bit. I worked for a company called forgot the name of the company, but anyways, it got me into Microsoft. So I was working for Microsoft, whatever. And then starts with an A or something. I don't know. So basically, I just answer the phones and stuff like that, and do these orders with the computer, blah blah blah. And I hated it because like you couldn't really take a vacation. You have to work for your vacation. Like you have to work for these points, and you use the points either for more money or you use them for like taking time off or something like that. And me, I was like, shoot, I'd rather take time off. So I was pretty much working just to collect that, and because I'm not really a type of person who like to work a lot. I mean, I did the Marine Corps thing, and I figured if anything is not the Marine Corps, I'm not gonna freaking work that much. And you can hear the Marine Corps like lingo from me, right? I'm just like freaking or whatever. Um, but I'm not going to work too long. I don't like working for long periods of time because always feel like those kind of situations are reserved for life or death situations or for things that I have a passion for doing. And one thing I have a passion of doing is my own thing. Like if it benefits me more, like when the percentage is higher on my end, yeah, I'm gonna work hard for myself. But if I work hard for others and it's not really benefiting me too much, except it's just paying me and things like that, then I'm going to the output is going to be a little different, right? So, anyways, I finally got like a an offer, but I needed to submit like a package of things like my passport. I needed to get an apostille. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It looks like apostille or something. Apostle, basically a state notarized version of a notary on your degree plan and or something like that, like your diploma. Sorry, your diploma. You have to do the background check for FBI and things like that. So I did it, and everything came back great. I got the location, and then a few months later, they said like before you leave, make sure that you get physical. This is the exact location where you work, and I was given the location Seoul, which is like the granddaddy location of all of these different branches. There's different cities that have this company. This company operates in uh, Busan, Jeju Island, where I lived before, uh, where I am right now, Cheongju. Uh, Masan has a Cheongdam, I believe. Pohang, Daegu, um, all Daejeon, all these random cities you probably don't even know about. Uh, they all have a Cheongdam, Incheon, all of them, all Gimpo. Everybody has a Cheongdam. So I got into the company um, around May 18th. I flew in from Dallas to San Francisco, my hometown of Dallas, and that took a few hours. And then I was in San Francisco for a layover, small layover actually. And uh, I'll talk about like the day I left. It was kind of cool. Like I was with, I stayed with my cousin overnight, and then I kissed everybody goodbye. Most of the kids were sleeping, things like that. They didn't even really think I was gonna leave and leave for a long time. Most of these kids were like barely. They were shorter than shorter than me. Like my cousin, I have a cousin who's like really short, mini me, and he just got really tall. He doesn't really look too much like me anymore. So, anyways, I got picked up by my friend, and we went to Waffle House. Met up with a few friends like who agreed to come in like early in the morning. Uh, Mostly it was like super early. It was like probably 5 or so in the morning. Um, we ate there. Coincidentally, like I had like some other friends there. I don't know if they knew that I was gonna be there exactly, but they showed up. And I was like, heck yeah, man. So we ate pancakes, and they all donated a few dollars thanks to them. Like I didn't know I didn't know if I like how much money I needed, but they told me I needed like basically $1,200 or $800 at least, and I was like $200 under the threshold, like maybe 600, because I had sold my car for some money and still didn't have enough for to hit the threshold. I had like $700 from selling the car, and at another point, I needed to get a plane ticket. I had to buy my own plane ticket and everything, and that was expensive. I had to get the one way, so that ticket was about 883. I had a little bit of help from like other friends and stuff, so thank goodness for them. I'm always thankful for them, and hopefully like I'll get to a point where I'll be able to pay them back like I mean in different ways. But these are friends like most of my friends I keep in real good touch with them and things like that, so that's good. So anyways, from San Francisco to Korea, that took a while. I think that was about a 13-hour flight, maybe 11. We flew in straight over from San Francisco to South Korea Incheon Airport, which is supposedly hailed as the greatest airport in 11 years. I mean, they have their own sauna. Like you can stay there overnight and sleep there. You don't have to spend tons of money on like hotels and things like that in the city, or you don't have to go unless you want to get into the city. You can spend a little less money in other places, but of course, you don't have to travel right off. But you could do what you want. It's up to you. But anyways, they stayed in the overnight sauna, and they have a, or I don't even know why I said they. They, I mean, you can stay, you know. But I didn't stay in the overnight sauna. As soon as I got to the airport, it seems that like when people come into the airport, they always get a ticket. Most of these people, at least that I know, most foreigners probably get it on instinct too. They get a ticket where they will come in the daytime, and I came in at the same time as one guy coming in from Dallas. Like it was such a coincidence. Like we're both going for that job, and then and we met like right at the same time. It wasn't like we just met and just said, "Hey, what's up?" Like he was waiting for the line to open. I was waiting for the line to open. I guess since he was young, he was about my age, so we were like, "Hey, what's up?" And then we became friends. Then we met up with two other future teachers in San Francisco. They were like, "Hey, you guys doing the program?" I guess they were just asking regular, randomly and stuff. And we were like, "Yeah, we're doing the same thing." And they said that like I think that guy actually had went into some kind of message board or something, and then they got in touch, and then that was what happened. Like they everybody that was there knew that they were at San Francisco waiting for that layover to get to Korea. So, but me, I was like, I'm only, I was only concerned with myself before I left, so I didn't really know. I just met them thanks to him, and of course, we all keep in touch most times. But anyways, we went to South Korea. We made it in the daytime. We got into, we picked up our bags and we got into a shuttle. The shuttle wasn't prepared for us or anything like that. It was just the first thing that I noticed when we stepped outside was wow, it is kind of wet and a little chilly outside because it was May 18th. And somewhere around May, the weather is kind of still cold. It's still chilly, especially at night. So, and I was a pretty heavy person at the time. I was huge. I was coming out of like, uh, although I didn't have a home and money, my when I was drifting between places, I was like eating very cheaply, but I wasn't like working out or anything. I wasn't really active. I was just always just trying to find some kind of opportunity to like make money, but couldn't find it. And then I had some jobs, but it just kept me working. And the thing about me and work is I don't get a chance to work out. So I just got bigger, and didn't really pay much attention at the time. I was kind of upset because I was trying to get my teeth clean and it was super expensive. Like I spent hundreds on like cleaning my teeth. Like it was weird. Like I spent so much money just on that. And I was also told that, and I have a paper here too, but I guess there's no real need to show it. Actually, I'll grab it right now. I guess not. Anyways, I have a paper that shows a list of all the teeth work that I needed, and it cost so much money, right? So I was just kind of like, um, just thinking, oh, it's the end of the world. But I was hoping that like I wouldn't get like teased over the look of my teeth and stuff like that. And when I used to talk, I don't really open my mouth. Like I was just keep the top lip like that, and then I will speak la 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 because like my two top teeth were broken at a time, and I'll tell you the story of how they got fixed in a few days. But anyways, you know, I got into the shuttle and I jumped in with the others. We were like, "How much is it gonna cost?" And the guy was like 18,000. My thing was that one of my issues was that coming from Japan, a year before, 18,000 is basically like $180. So I was super hesitant at first, and actually, I was steady trying to figure out what is 18,000, and the others were super scared because they never seen that many zeros behind two digits before. So after a little bit, the guy he spoke a little bit of English and he showed me the translator, whatever. And then I was like, oh, this guy's saying $18. It costs $18. So basically, it it cost us $18 or something like that. Like it was weird. It cost basically $18 to get from the airport over to the main city, and I don't I don't actually remember. It could have been $80 for all I know, and then we probably split the cost, which probably was what it was. Is that like I know I paid 18, so maybe somebody else paid 18 and did the math or something like that. But all I know is he was like each person pays this much or 18. Like all I saw was 18, so I gave 18, and the others didn't really give anything, and he was cool about it. But anyways, we got in, and then it was raining. Like that was a thing. Like when I came to Japan at first, it was super sunny, but my first moment in Korea, getting on that road, it was dark. For you know for what it was in the daytime, it was dark. It was rainy. It was chilly. It just you know it kind of lowered my expectation. But then I thought like and I told the others maybe when we get to the city it'll look better. And actually, it did. I mean, I felt kind of relieved that the buildings were as tall as they were. Uh, when I was in Japan and I saw those buildings, like in comparison, I was just surprised at how tall they were. And then I was just like, wow, it's kind of clean. Even one of the other teachers, she commented on how green it was, and I agreed. Um, it's pretty cool. I liked it. And then when we got further down into the streets, we just one thing I noticed is that the streets were wide, like they were wider than what I expect. Especially, like I said, with Japan, you will have like smaller roads, smaller cars at times, and it just seems like there's a lot of traffic. But in Korea, it didn't seem like that. And I didn't really notice why. I didn't know why, but I was just thinking like um, maybe it's because of a train system or something like that. So I just guessed, and I mean I guess I supposed right, and and then we moved a little bit into the main city, I guess into some more commercial areas and things like that. And I thought it was pretty nice, like seeing those kind of buildings compared to seeing the buildings in Texas. It's like man, like where are we in time? I mean, I'm pretty sure like, we'll get there, but usually the only multi-story kind of buildings that support things like that or it's in the malls, like, and you have to go to the malls to do stuff like that. But this kind of place, I noticed it's almost like a community, like, and I mean, it's a full-fledged commercial community. They have houses on top of houses and stores on top of stores and houses on top of stores. And when I mean houses, I mean residentials, like apartments and stuff. They didn't really have houses like we have in Texas. That's usually what we saw going down in the streets in Dallas is houses, but here it's like apartments on top of apartments on top of shopping places, and it's weird. Um, a little later, the rain stopped. We got to the hotel, and the hotel that we stayed at was called Coatel Hotel. And normally, the hotels are very expensive. They go from 170 for a non-reservation to like 200 or so. I mean, a lot of these rooms support families. They support travelers, or I guess like visitors who come in to Korea to do some serious kind of tourism, I guess. So they really do take in the tourist groups. And of course, when we think of people going into hotels, we think of singles going to hotels. I mean, that's what Texans do. But in Korea, they emphasize more in groups. So there's a high price, but of course, if you have like three people, you're pretty much paying the price of like maybe like two people are paying for the price of one, right? So you're basically splitting the cost, and that's pretty much what like a lot of these chungdoms did. was that what I found out is that the schools actually have to pay the hotels. First, they pay the headquarters, and the headquarters works out the deal at the hotel. And of course, from that, they pay a lower price, right? So, but it's still expensive. I mean, the I'm sure there's a handling fee and everything. From what I found out, uh, companies typically uh, they typically hire teachers through the system, this kind of database, and if they agree to take that person, they're going to pay for the hotel. Um, and I'll tell you the difference between receiving teachers at my first two schools, and or at least my first school, second school, and third school. But one thing I noticed is that like the next morning, or actually when I got there, it was a Saturday, right? And we were told by the hotel staff that our training would be on Monday. So they gave us a welcome package and everything, and they let us know that we need to be ready and downstairs at a certain time. So we can pretty much venture throughout Gangnam for for a period of like 2 days, I guess, or 1.5 days. So that's pretty much what we did. Like, Saturday we came in, everybody was just kind of tight, just getting rest and things like that. And then the next day we all just went out and just ventured through well, not Seoul, but we ventured throughout Gangnam. And um, one thing that I did was I tried to understand the area, and I was walking around everywhere. I walked until I was too scared, or maybe too nervous, too scared to keep going. I was like, oh, I don't want to just keep going out there and getting lost. Then I would turn back and come back and rest a bit. I would eat a little bit, and then I ate very cheaply. By the way, I ate like in the convenience stores and stuff like that. But the reason why I did that was because I wasn't sure of uh, I already had a little bit of money, but I wasn't sure on how much I should spend. So I just like tried to eat very cheaply until I made it to the next place because before I came out there when I was in Texas, I was up every night from I was just up. I was just up. I never slept. I was just super drowsy from having to search for an apartment because like I was under the impression that I had to pay for my own apartment. So I was looking for these places like, man, like how much is 5,000? Key money is like 5,000 Korean won. I'm like, dude, that's $5,000. I only have like 500. How am I gonna make it out there? I don't know. So I just kept calling, like, hey, I kept calling recruiters, like, um, do I have to pay for my own apartment? Do I have to find my own apartment? They were just like, they're they're going to work out something for you when you get there. I was like, I'm just scared. I'm scared that I'm gonna end up homeless but with nowhere to go. Like, like I don't have a home right now, and I don't want it to be outside. At least like in Texas, I can just like well, Dallas. I mean, in Dallas I can just drift between places and like sleep in different couches for certain periods of time. But you know, that was just one thing I was trying to avoid is being stuck outside. That's all. Um, I may be switching between high and low quality pictures here now, but uh, the first thing I noticed about Gangnam when I went out was that there were signs. There were just so many signs, so many pictures of like food everywhere, and it was kind of amazing to me. Like it just reminded me of Japan, but in a different way, of course, in more serious shapes and stuff. Because that's what Hangul looks like. It's like just dedicated shapes and lines and things like that. It's not like these crazy radical strokes, you know, that you'll find in Chinese characters and in Japan. These are just typical, all of them look very uniform Korean characters, right? So that was like one of my first major impressions was the signs, and then of course it went from the signs to like the food. or the food, and at nighttime the lights caught me. And there was a point where like every night I would go out and check out the lights, and it wasn't until maybe the halfway point where I got a phone call saying, hey, we checked out we evaluated your performance and we thought you needed to like practice more. So I had to stop going out and checking out stuff. But like I really fell in love with the lighting. It was crazy, especially like being out in the heart of Gangnam. You're right there. You're right there. So luckily we had that. It was just that I was too tired to go venture anymore. Like especially like at night, I was always sleeping on time at night. I always slept like probably 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 or something like that. The money, when I got to the money, it was kind of funny. There are only very few kinds of bills, just like in Japan. There's a 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 50,000. And I was kind of surprised because when I first bought some Dunkin' Donuts or whatever in the morning, my first breakfast ever was on a Sunday. It was Dunkin' Donuts with the other future teachers and things like that. So basically, I'll break it down to you. It's quite simple. 1,000 is a dollar, pretty much. It's a little weaker than a U.S. dollar at this moment, a lot weaker, but it is basically a dollar. 10,000 won is going to cost you basically $10. 50,000 won is basically $50. And when I first bought my meal at Dunkin' Donuts, one thing that scared me was having to pay about I have to pay about like 12,000 won. That scared me. What happened was this is a culture shock thing, I guess, compared to like Dallas, because when people come to buy stuff together, typically you would just put your tray down. Like we had our stuff on different trays, actually, me and the other teachers. You would put your tray down, and this is basically your stuff. And then you have another teacher, they put their tray down, and this is their stuff. And then another teacher, whatever. We had three trays, and then they counted all of our stuff and just rung us up as one person. And I was like, that's a lot of money, I think. And then I had to double check again because, like I said, there was a lot of confusion from Japanese currency numbers to Korean currency numbers. 18,000 is normal, 18,000 in Japan, it's too much. So I was like, wow, this is like hundreds of dollars for just donuts and stuff. But then I looked, of course, that sounds ridiculous, right? But it rung up pretty high. I mean, I only had like two donuts and a hot chocolate or something like that. And they were like, oh, it's not that much. I was like, oh, this is a lot. But one thing is I noticed is the donuts were just expensive flat out. Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, usually the price is doubled in Korea, so you're going to spend double. Basically, in America, you don't really pay too much money for a donut. It's like 25. Well, back in the day, it used to be like 25 cents and stuff. I guess now it's like 50 cents to 75 cents or something like that for a donut, or it would cost like a dollar. But in Korea, it's like almost $2 or $3, right? So, getting two donuts is like six, and then the hot chocolate's like four. So you just put it together, you get like 10,000, 11,000 Korean won, right? So I was like, man, I might as well just eat air. It's too expensive, but there's no such thing as breakfast in Korea. Everybody wanted breakfast. All the foreigners, we wanted breakfast our first time. We expected like there's going to be a pancake place, egg place. No, we couldn't find anything. We're just like, where do we go? Let's just go to Dunkin' Donuts. It was the only thing that we can see and find that was open, selling breakfast type stuff, right? So we went inside and we ordered and paid. We had to stress first that hey, this is my stuff. right? This is mine. Not hers, not hers, this is mine. And then of course we paid separately, right? So we had to you have to make it clear when you're sitting with other people eating and stuff like that. If you are eating separate meals, you just need to find a way to tell them, "Hey, we want to be billed separately. I pay and then he's paying for." You have to like let them know. But it's very difficult, so you might as well just put your money together when they ask, right? So make sure you know how much money you're spending and stuff like that. Uh, the next day, when we actually had our training, I bumped into a guy who was Greek living in Hawaii. And I guess I had mentioned somewhere, like, I just mentioned just for fun, like, yeah, I wish I could speak Korean. Because I recognize some of the characters from, like, my classes in 2006, or, sorry, classes in 2005, and when I was in college, Brookhaven College to be exact. And I remember I was just like, yeah, I wish I could do Korean as good as I could Japanese. And this guy was like, hey, you speak Japanese? I was like, yeah. And at first I thought, like, this guy's just kind of like he just looks like a dude that's just in the gym all the time. And he just don't seem like the kind of guy that would be out there. But he was out there, and he was like, "Yeah, I speak Japanese too." So I was like, "Oh, so this ka?" And he's like, "Hi." I was like, "Nihongo wakeru?" Or more like "wakeru no?" Like it's just kind of informal way of asking, "Do you understand Japanese?" He's like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Oh shoot, that's nice." Renshu shitai. I wanted to practice, right? So he's like, "Oh, let's do it." So we just spoke Japanese the whole time. We spoke for like maybe 2 or 3 hours. Then we went out to eat. We grabbed our first meal. First ever meal was a meatloaf, and like I, I was under the impression that like, I was under the impression that like the white cube stuff was like some kind of pears or fruit, and I was like, I just threw that stuff in my mouth and I just tried to chew it, and it just felt like, what the heck is this? It's basically like kind of like a dice-sized radish or something, white radish or whatever. And then I was like, I don't think this is that. And it's never really been that good to me. I never really ate it. I only ate it to like impress people because it's an occasion. But like other than that, like I don't even eat that stuff. Like that and the yellow radish, which is basically a pickle. It's basically your dill pickle, but it just doesn't taste as good, right? And that's coming from the Western standpoint. So some people like it, some people just don't touch it. Most foreigners don't touch that stuff. And kimchi, they always give you side dishes: kimchi, radishes, and pickles, yellow pickle, and some places even give you a soup. So if it's like hot outside, they always give you like broth or something like that, right? So we had it. We ate it really slowly. It took us forever. Like we were just like, oh, we got meatloaf. I guess he hated meatloaf, and I was like, I haven't eaten meatloaf since my mother stopped cooking, and that was like 12. I was like 12 years old. Anyways, a little later we got into training and stuff like that, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I just want to eat something, but I was too scared to go out to eat something. So I just went to the store to see what I can get, and I got a hold of some like ready-made rice and some rice cake and some ham, and I don't know why, but I saw that we had some dishes and stuff, so I just like used the kitchen and tried to cook something, and it worked out a bit, but it was just like, what the heck is this, man? I was like, man, I can't do this anymore, man. Like, it's kind of weird, but it tasted good though. I was surprised. Rice cake, like when I tried to, I thought it was marshmallows. I don't know what the heck I thought, man. Like, I just got this stuff and just grabbed it, and then I tried to I tried to put it in my mouth. I was like, oh shoot, this stuff is cold and it's hard. So like I just put it on the stove and it just got like softer and it tasted really nice. So yeah, I like rice cake. And the ready-made rice was it was all right. Actually, before I had a rice cooker, I used to buy the ready-made rice bowls and stuff like that, and then you just microwave it for a few seconds and it gets hot, and that's it. right? So most of my cooking was like that. It was like just basically cooking meat and ready-made rice and putting it on top of each other. That's what I did for the first few months, but not in that way. Like, it was either chicken nuggets or something, something easy to make. Let's see. And now I'm going to get into my training. I'll talk about training on a different occasion because it is just a little bit, um, it's a bit more menacing. And also, along with that, I'm going to talk a little bit or a lot more about like what I did when I finished training, because training was just pretty systematic and it was just flowchartish and typical, and I will talk about training in a sense where it is a little bit more detailed so that, like, people who have the endurance of listening can go through with it. If anybody wanted to know about that, it's okay. But of course, it's archaic now because we don't use that system anymore that we were trained in. We use a different system. So I'll talk about that a little bit, and whatever, but in detail. And then of course I'll get into like the other half of my next video. I'll try to get into like my like post training ordeal. So, anyways, if you made it through this whole thing, uh, just I like to thank you for getting through the first video for sure. If you made it through, thank you. And yeah, I don't think I've ever really talked about my first days in Korea like this before, but this is pretty much like, this video pretty much just details that. So, anyways, everybody, thank you for listening if you did, and please check out the next video. Peace.